What is the most embarrassing thing you did in front of your crush? Story 1. I almost drowned in 5 feet of water. We're getting married this year, LMFAO. It was an accident due to my friend's landlord not taking care of the property properly. It was an above-ground pool. I was slightly leaning on the railing. I was trying to do my best, I'm just a chill, normal dude who's definitely not super nervous in front of this very attractive person pose. The railing snapped. I fell backwards and hit my head on the wooden part of the pool as I fell, according to others. The railing didn't fully detach and my ankle got caught in the bars. I was hanging upside down, head and torso completely submerged. My beautiful, wonderful, strong fiance jumped in, lifted me out, and got all the inhaled water out. Luckily, wasn't a whole lot. Literally saved my life. I luckily only sustained a mild concussion and sprained ankle. In exchange for an amazing human being, I get to call my love for the rest of my life. Story 2. Got drunk and told him I'm in love with him. Told him a long list of all the sweet things I do for him, such as leave chocolates on his desk and bake for him using his favorite cheese because I love him. Told him why I felt hurt when he brought his girl along to a function and introduced her to me. Told him how much I wanted to message him on Christmas and New Year's Day. Yeah, basically I told him in minute detail all the feelings I had for him all this time, and apparently he had no idea. I told him this last week. I've yet to hear back from him. Story 3. Shit her pants. Even though I'm a male, me and her have the same waist. Well, doing some dares, we ended up going to another room and swap clothes. Well, I didn't know a friend had slipped me a prank laxative, the evacuator. My stomach starts making dark chants and I try to excuse myself. I didn't even make it out of the room before my colon got repurposed to being a railgun. Had to go to the bathroom and suffer from stomach cramps. I went and showered and they went and washed the pants. I was just sitting there thinking I got food poisoning, and the prankster came in to apologize as he misread the dose, and it wasn't 15 milliliters and was 5 milliliters. So I spent the next 2 hours just sitting in the bathroom conducting a rectal exorcism. Story 4. I was talking to a girl I liked in between classes, and we had to go to another building. On the way, we had to go down this short marble-esque staircase. It was also raining out. I slipped on the second to last step, and I landed on my back at the bottom. It didn't terribly hurt, but it knocked the wind out of me, in both directions. I ripped a fast but hard fart as soon as I landed. I got up quickly and I could see her trying to stifle a laugh, so I just said, "See ya," and walked back the way I came. After that, I didn't really talk to her again. Story 5. Alright, I'll try. First, the time I fell flat on my face on some ice. Then there was the time I was speaking so confidently about something that turned out to be wrong, and he looked at me all confused. And I don't even think I need to mention the way I dressed years ago, which he also saw. Then there were a million times he'd be talking and I would ask what the hell he's saying, and when he'd explain it, it would be so straightforward. The time I was running away from a bee, screaming my head off because it was chasing me, and he and his friends were watching. That's all I can remember off the top of my head. Story 6. This is so dumb, but we were at a pottery shop painting pottery and talking about books. He asked me what I like so much about romance novels, and I said, for me, it's the longing. Wanting what you can't have, fighting yourself in the world to get it anyway. That's the stuff. There was nothing bad about what I said, but I was so embarrassed to have shared that particular tidbit. We've been together for 1.5 years now. He's everything I ever longed for. Story 7. Well, when I was in kindergarten, I liked this girl, and in my tiny kid brain, I thought that doing front flips and back flips were very cool. I thought that was peak human ability. So I thought I would impress her with my very own flipping skills, which I did not possess. So I improvised. I thought it was just as cool to sit on the ground and roll backwards, over and over. Fast forward some time, and my school used to have a kindergarten dance for kids who passed. Parents were invited. Your kid couldn't go unless you were present. A school dance, huh? Looks like my time to shine. Now imagine you're at a kindergarten dance. You're there to watch over your kid. And then, out of nowhere, you see this other kid in a tiny suit rolling across the ground like a fucking Dark Souls character. Safe to say I stayed single for a very long time. That is my first memory. I want to die. Story 8. My crush, my best friend's sister, was exploring on someone else's land and came upon a big boat. I wanted her to climb up with me, but she refused, so I went up alone. The nerves of trespassing got to me, and I instantly, needed to poop, which I did, and just as I pulled my pants back up, her head popped over the gunner. I yelled at her to get away because someone had pooped on the deck, and she swiftly went back down before me. Walking back, I was musing what animal might have gotten up there to have such a weird human-looking poop. Can dogs climb ladders? But I could tell she didn't believe me, and my crush never evolved to anything further than that. I was 7, and she was 6, by the way, for context. Story 9. Spent years thinking she was out of my league and being nervous as hell around her. It was embarrassing. Then I asked her out and she said yes. Then I embarrassed myself even more with how fucking shocked and happy and ecstatic I was. Swear to God, that kept me going another 5 years on its own. Even though it didn't work out, I'll always have those stupid, adorable memories to look back on. Story 10. While having a few drinks with some friends, I got a little drunk and tried to come up with something to talk about because my crush was leaving the city the next day, not to be seen in a long time. And so, my autism kicked in, and I began explaining to my crush that there's a way of telling the direction of the baggage claim transport thing at the airport. So, instead of saying something meaningful, I just kept on explaining the most efficient way of getting your baggage. My friends, who already knew that I liked my crush, just stared at me and one even face-palmed. The next day, my crush texted me saying that my advice was actually useful, so hey, at least my random conversation ended up working out. Story 11. Cold winter mornings waiting for the bus to college when I was 16. Face was numb with cold, but still plucked up the courage to ask out my crush on a date before the bus showed up. She looked at me funny before politely declining. Explained story to my mate who had put me up to it. He was in fits of laughter. Turns out the knob splash put me up to it because I had a huge crusty green bogey perched on the end of my nose like a rhino horn. I couldn't feel it there due to the coldness and wearing gloves. Set my dating experiences back years as I was the bogey boy. Who needs enemies when I have friends like mine? Story 12. In 10th grade biology class, the girl I had a crush on was sitting in front of me. She had forgotten her textbook that day, so we were sharing, as the teacher went around the room having each student read aloud. When it was my turn, I stumbled over a word that would haunt me for weeks to come. Instead of saying organism like I was supposed to, I said orgasm out loud. The class erupted into laughter, and I was mortified. I could feel my face turning red as I sank lower into my chair, wishing I could disappear. To make matters worse, my teacher only added to the humiliation. Instead of correcting me, she made a comment that only made me feel more awkward. "Keep going, you're on a roll," she said, causing the entire class to laugh even harder. Looking back, it's a funny story, but at the time, it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Story 13. Probably when I misuse words or just make up entirely new ones. I always catch it when I do it, though, either immediately or even some later time, and I always hope that he knows that I've recognized it and I'm not a complete idiot. Sometimes I just talk faster than my brain is conjuring up the words, lol, or I type faster than it too. Most of the time when I do these things, I crack myself up because it's funny to me, but with him, he doesn't know that I'm actually not dumb and that spelling and grammar are huge to me. Hasn't happened yet, but I hear the word dildo sometimes, and I never use the word ditto, and I am always worried that I will get the words mixed up. Story 14. On my first date with a guy, I had a grand mal seizure in the middle of an apple orchard. I started coming to the ambulance after a nurse that happened to be at the orchard helped carry me to it. He was nowhere to be seen, and I never saw or heard from him again. I also peed my pants during it. Dodged a bullet there. Even on a first date, you'd surely want to at least stick around and make sure the person was okay, right? It would have haunted me forever not knowing. Story 15. I was in high school and asked this girl out on a date. She said, "How about Friday we go out to dinner and a movie?" In the most embarrassing thing I have ever said, "How about we just go to a movie? I don't think I can get my dad to give me that much money." She actually did go out with me. We ended up doing dinner and a movie, and she dated me for 4 years into college. I can't imagine why. I told her how embarrassing that conversation was years later, and she said she thought it was funny. I asked her out, but didn't have any money. Story 16. So there was this this guy at work in a different department who I saw maybe once every 2 weeks. He was beautiful. So beautiful, every brain cell in my head fled the moment I saw his glorious face. He was very polite and friendly too. So, when he would walk past, he would smile and say hi. One time he did that, I spilled a whole can of Red Bull over myself trying to say hi back and doing an awkward wave. Another time, I was about to go back inside when the hi came, and I was so dazzled by the smile that I forgot that doors need to be opened and smacked my face into it. That goddamn smile. Story 17. All right, my time to shine. I was in the 9th grade, and we were all stuck in a room together taking our yearly standardized test. Cute girl sitting next to me. Let's call her Ashley. For context, Ashley wasn't fat at all. She wasn't skinny, but certainly not fat. This becomes relevant later. Anyway, the test is over, and we're all sitting around chatting and eating lunch. I forget the conversation, but Ashley says something about not wanting to eat too much because she's fat. Me, being the gentleman, I wanted to compliment her, but it just came out wrong. I responded with, "You're not that fat." Oof. Story 18. I was walking and talking with my work crush, and I accidentally knocked over the Christmas tree. Crush, why do you hate Christmas? I was simultaneously horrified, but also even deeper into crush territory because of his sense of humor. Also because he helped me put it back upright. Story 19. One of my junior high bullies startled me really bad and tried slamming my locker door so that my fingers were there. So it would have hit my fingers. I luckily managed to pull my hand off right on time to only have it slightly touch the tips of my fingers. However, I got so startled I started crying. So I cried in front of my junior high crush, at an age where everyone tries to be as adult as possible. I felt humiliated for it for quite a long time. So long that I'm sure he had already forgotten all about it. Wow, what a violent scumbag. I hope your bully got the karma they deserve in life. Story 20. I hit her with my Spider-Man pencil case. We were in 7th grade. It was an accident, I swear. Then she walked to me and punched me in the chest. We became friends in early high school, dated until I was 20, and then I fucked it up. I still miss her, and keep the only 3 pictures that we have together. And in my old house, there is a box with all the gifts that I couldn't bring to my new city. And if you're wondering how I fucked it up, so, I had a group of online friends, like every teenager these days have, and they traveled to my house so we could see each other and everything. I was responsible for showing them the city, so I showed them a couple of bars and we drank a lot. I lived in a very small city before, so we didn't have much to do or see. My girlfriend needed to go to her home, and all my friends stayed at my house, and this one girl, that I will call Red Devil, snuck into my bed and, well. Then the other day, I realized what happened and called my girlfriend to talk to her and say that I was sorry and everything. She was super comprehensive and said it was okay because I was drunk, but she needed to talk to me about it, just to keep things clear. The Red Devil then started to talk to me about how my girlfriend treated me poorly and that I should break up. I was in an awful phase. I got fired from my job and lost the opportunity to go to college because my mom sent a fake document. And eventually she got into my head. So my girlfriend came home and she was hurt, with scratches all over her face and arms, and I felt that was my fault. I still think that it is. So I asked her to break up. She didn't want to, even after all the things that I did. She insisted that we could try more, but I don't know what happened. Usually I'm not that stupid, but this time I was really, really stupid. I said that I was sure, that I wanted to break up, and she only said to me, "I love you, but if we break up, we will never get back together." And this is what happened. There's more history, more context, but it's already a big text. I don't want it to be bigger. Now I cry every night, seeing the only 3 photos that I could recover over and over again. I just miss her so much, and the worst part is that I know it's my fault. The Red Devil did some other things too. If you like it, I could tell. Story 21. On our first date, we ended up in a pub because it started to rain. Only a couple drinks in, and I tripped down the stairs to the bathrooms, in full view of him, because I was nervous and tipsy. A little later, I did it again. He must have took pity on me, because we're coming up on 3 years together now. Story 22. Not exactly in front of my crush, but in front of her mom, which most likely got conveyed to her, or not. So, she's someone I knew since I was 13. Never had the courage to ever have a real conversation with her, but pretty much most of our mutual friends knew I had a crush on her, and I often got teased for that. Anyway, years later, I had graduated from college and joined my first job. Her mom was the company doctor. She knew me, but we were not really acquainted. I was just a friend of her daughter's. So, the first week at work, we were getting our medical tests done at the company clinic. I and a new coworker were each given a sample plastic bottle for collecting our urine samples. We went to the bathroom, did our deed, and came out. We were walking towards the laboratory. For some reason, my clown of a new coworker decided to raise the bottle of urine and asked me to show mine, to see who's more yellowish, he said. Clown brain got even weirder. I raised my bottle, clinked it with his, and said, "Cheers." Crush's mom walks past us at that exact moment, both of us with urine samples raised in our hands. The look she gave us, that is the only face of hers I can recollect to this day. In my mid-30s, I am still friends with the ex-crush to this day. We chat occasionally after I went through some real relationships and lost my inhibitions, but I often suspect she knows about this toasting incident. That's not bad or particularly exciting. She was probably just watching to make sure the samples didn't spill or get contaminated. Sometimes people do shady shit to pass a drug test. As a doctor, she is bound by HIPAA laws not to ever mention you in any health screening context whatsoever. Rest assured, your friend doesn't know, and her mom doesn't care. Story 23. I was 17 at that time and had a major crush on a girl that I saw every summer in Italy. We were at a party and she tried to kiss me, but I freaked out. So I couldn't think for a couple of seconds and poured a beer over her head. Never in my life have I had this feeling of shame. I saw her a couple of weeks ago because her brother moved here, and she asked me about it. Luckily, she laughed about it and was joking the whole time about it. Story 24. The time has come to tell this absolute cringe moment I can't seem to forget. I liked this guy a lot. Well, he tells me about this party a mutual friend is having, so I think he's inviting me so we can hang out, maybe even like a date. So I drive like 40 minutes to get to this party, and it's almost 2 hours before he even rolls in, with his girlfriend. I've already told like 5 other people I'm meeting him here, and now I know why they looked at each other. I'm trying not to cry, unsuccessfully, as I hop into my Jeep and proceed to angrily stomp the gas to make a point of vehicularly storming off. Well, I turned so fast that the back latch opened up and threw a basket of, I pray it was clean but can't remember, laundry all over the yard where everyone was. I just kept going. Story 25. I think I found out she was interested in another guy, so I sang Angry Rock really loudly with headphones on in front of her on a crowded bus. I don't think she even knew I had a crush on her. Makes me cringe when it comes to mind. I'm picturing a 2000s kid just wailing out some buckcherry on the school bus, rocking their foam over-the-ear headphones. I just want you to know that image has made my morning.